Yo, what's going on, Latin Wealth family? Welcome to another episode to Wealth Wednesday, a weekly news segment that we're putting out specifically for the Latino community by Latinos from our perspective. So, thank you for tapping in today. Make sure you guys share this episode and any previous episodes with three other people that needs to hear this conversation because we're diving into some pretty dope topics today. Number one, we're diving into why people are afraid to succeed. Number two, a fintech startup aimed to help undocumented immigrants. And also, number three, we haven't spoken about it in a couple of weeks, but Biden's new backup plan to help with student relief debt. Make sure you guys tune into the full episode. We're talking about some dope things, as you just heard, and giving you guys some great information. With that being said, my co-host Jeremiah, bro, how you doing today? How you feeling?
Feeling great, man. I'm feeling good. You just laid out the topics. I think they're going to be surprised by these topics, man. I think it's going to be super dope conversation that we have today. Super helpful as well.
For sure, for sure. So it's funny because you and I, you guys know, we text. Sometimes we call each other, and we want to get online of like what we're going to be talking about this week. So he hit me up and he was like, "Yo, one of the topics we should hit on is why people are afraid to succeed." And I thought this was super interesting and something that you don't hear very many people talking about it. I'm curious, Jeremiah, what made you even think about this question? Like, what made you want to even discuss this?
Yeah, I think just in the everyday struggles that you see with, within our community, specifically the brown and black communities, right? What you see is people that struggle with being successful. And what I mean by that is not that we can't be successful or that it's not accessible for us to be
Mhm.
successful, but we almost feel like a survivor's remorse, right?
Mhm.
Like, do I really deserve to be successful? I
Mhm.
see my friends and stuff, they're not successful, or my family is not anywhere near me and they're not in the same category as me. Do I really deserve to be here? And so sometimes we have self-sabotaging actions that we do, and it's really like subconscious, right?
Mhm.
And so I see that a lot of times, especially in our communities. And so I'm just sitting here and I'm like, okay, why are people so afraid? What is it that scares us to be successful? That's basically where it came from.
No, 100%. And when you asked that question, thank goodness you asked it yesterday or whenever it was, because I needed some time to think about it. But when you asked that question, I'm like, man, are people afraid to succeed, or are they afraid of this responsibilities that come with success? Are they afraid of being held accountable, right? When you
Yeah.
succeed, you're at a different tier. Like whatever success looks like for you out there, you're in a different tier, you're in a different atmosphere, right? Now there's responsibility, there's accountability that comes with succeeding, as we just said. Also, is it success people are afraid of, or is it people's perception, right? Is it, yo, how would I look if I fail doing
It's a
this?
good
How would I
question.
look if, are they going to laugh at me if I do this and I don't succeed? So let me just fall back and just be comfortable and not even attempt, right? So what do you think it is, man? Because I think that's, in my opinion, I think it's that. I think it's people would love to be successful, but it's also the fear of responsibility, the fear of, again, accountability that comes with it. Maybe the fear of what people are thinking about them.
Yeah. I know a lot of people that are scared, right, or feel a certain type of way about how people perceive them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do believe that that's true. And I do believe people are scared of their responsibilities,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, what do you do once you become successful,
For sure.
right? What are you going to require out of me? Do I have to keep going? And so, yeah, you do, right? And so that's something that people know. Once you're successful, it's like in sports. Once you win a championship, people expect you to win another one, or at least be in
Mm-hmm.
contention for
Mm-hmm.
another one, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
your level constantly has to rise. And I think a lot of people, they're not prepared and they're not ready to have that level risen, right?
Mm-hmm.
They say that high tide rises all ships, right? But if you're not even in the same water, if you're in the lagoon and they're in the ocean, how's that work? And so I
Yeah.
think the focus for a lot of people is saying like, if I'm successful once, I got to keep being successful. That's a lot of responsibility and that's a lot of hard work. I fluked this time, right? Let's be honest, a lot of people they luck into some things. Maybe something falls on your lap, you take advantage of the opportunity, you're kind of right place, right time. But then you start to figure, can you continue to do it, right? Because it takes muscle and it takes a conviction and discipline to keep it going. And so I think you're right on all 3 points. I think people are afraid of the responsibility.
Mhm.
I will say that. And then I'm gonna be honest, I think some people are just scared of success.
Yeah.
What comes with it, like
Yeah.
the people looking up to you, people,
Mhm.
the fame or anything that comes from it, right? Because a lot of people like to conform and they like to fit in, they like to assimilate, right? Which is just fitting into the bigger crowd. Because if I
Mhm.
don't stand out, you're not going to require any more of me. I can just do whatever I'm doing. Like you said, I don't have to attempt to try even hard. I can just chill and I can go through life just skating
Mhm.
in mediocrity, right?
100%. No, I love that. And I love what you hit on. What did you say earlier? You said the survivor's remorse. My bad.
Survivor's
Survivor's
remorse.
remorse. Then that's big. And I don't have. Is that something that you've ever felt before?
I think initially,
Okay.
but I also know how much work it took to get to where I'm at. And
Mm,
so if I see someone and I can see a person that's came from the same place I came from and they're not putting in the same amount of work or the same amount of preparation, right? Which is taking the time to study, taking the time to hone in on your craft, master yourself, then I can only feel a certain type of way for so long, right? Like, yeah, I may
right.
be a little bit sympathetic, but after a while, not so much because I know you're not putting in the same amount of work and I know how much work I have to put in. And
Mm,
so if you're doing that and you're still not successful, then I'll be honest, I'll probably come in and try to help you figure out
help
what
you
is
out.
it that's
Yeah.
not working because I can give you the steps that I use, right? But if usually I don't feel the survivor's remorse because a lot of times people aren't willing to put in that work. And
Mm,
so, you're going to get the results you get.
yeah. 100%. Now, do you feel like having fear is a bad thing?
No,
Because, and I'll let you hit on it. Go ahead.
no, I was going to say, no, it's not at all because, you know, sometimes fear is a motivator, right? I know for
Mhm.
me, if you are um, what they call optimistically paranoid, right?
Mm,
You know good things are coming, but you're still paranoid because you've been in places that weren't really
yeah.
great, or you've been in situations that weren't the best, and so you know where it can go, but then you're still optimistic, right? And but you stay sharp. And so I say fear of going back to maybe where you came from, or the existence or the life that you were living. There's a fear of that. And so that fear can be good because it motivates you and it pushes you, it drives you, not even motivation, because motivation comes and goes. It drives you continue moving forward and to accomplish that goal. So I don't think
Mm,
fear is bad at all. Now it can be if you let it cripple
mhm.
you, but then again, if you
100%.
use it as fuel, it's a great driving force.
No, 100%. And when I think of the moments that I've been in fear, it's probably because I'm outside of my comfort zone,
Mm.
right? When I'm outside of
Which is a good place.
which is a good place if you have your intentions are right, because you can be outside of the comfort zone doing some funny business, funny things, right?
That's
But
true. 100%.
we're on the same frequency. We know, like, yo, like perfect example. I'll just be transparent with y'all. I'm looking to submit a bid for a government contract this so this is you guys are gonna hear this on Wednesday, this Saturday, right? It's due. I reached out to Jeremiah because I needed his help with a couple different things. And throughout this process, there's been a little bit of fear there because this is my first time submitting a bid. I'm going through 45 pages of documents. I'm making sure I'm on point. I got everything that they need. And there's a bit of fear there, but on the other side of fear is typically what you're looking for, typically that achievement, typically something positive, right? And it's you have to break through that wall. You have to get over that hump. Life isn't all, it's not all easy, right? You have to, if you put something out in the atmosphere that you want something, you're always going to be met with resistance, always going to be met with a challenge. And in order for you to get what you want, you have to get over that hump, that challenge, that resistance. So for me, when I feel fear, I just have to take a step back and be like, yo, this is just an opportunity for me to be stretched like a rubber band, to be bigger, better, whatever it is, and for me to learn what I need to learn to get over this hump. And typically, if I just get over this thing, what I'm looking for is right on the other side of that.
It's so funny, as we wrap this up, but it's so funny that just yesterday I posted something to my Facebook, and the post was something that's called liminal space, Limina, liminal space. And what the definition of that is, it refers to a place or person that is in a transitional period, right? It's a gap and can be a physical, like a doorway, emotional, like a divorce, or metaphorical, like a decision, right? And so the liminal space, as many times as you can in life, you can get to that liminal space, and it's a transition period of discomfort, but it's leading toward that greater place. Like you said, it's good to get to those spaces. It's very uncomfortable, but get to the liminal spaces in life, man, because that's going to be able to elevate you. Because if you don't, you're just going to live a life of mediocrity, and that's not worth it, right? Because we want to say that we live. You may be you may be physically living, but you're not living, right? Fulfilling that destiny, getting that potential out. And so get to those liminal spaces. And shouts out to you, Chris, for not only being transparent, but then also living in that space and owning it, and then progressing forward regardless.
Yeah, 100%. You just said something at the end, owning it, right? We're not going to hit on it today, maybe another week, but I do want to hit on how you can overcome fear, how you can use it as a weapon, how you can channel that energy into something positive, which Jeremiah and I have a lot of experience with. Jeremiah a lot more, obviously. So definitely want to hit on that. Maybe next week or the week after.
Let's do next week or the week after.
Yeah. Look, we'll continue with it next week, how to overcome fear, how to channel the fear into something positive. But yeah, switching gears a little bit, we want to hit on a article that recently came out, and we just, man, this is, shout out to Jeremiah for finding this article and sending it over, because I'm like, yo, this is big time. So the heading of the article says, no Social Security, no problem, says a fintech company called Maza, a fintech startup aimed at undocumented immigrants. Okay, so follow along. This is what they do. There's a lot of different fintech companies out there that offer digital banking services to a variety of demographics, right? I think the first one that comes to mind is Bank Novo. It's a digital banking company that if you have a business, you can set them up. You can set up with them pretty easily, right? But there has been one segment of the population that historically has been underserved more than pretty much any other demographic, right? And that's the undocumented immigrants. And because these undocumented immigrants don't have a social security number, it's extremely difficult for these people to access traditional banks. So this is where the startup Maza come, and they're set out to help solve that problem. So just a couple quick points and we'll jump into a conversation. But essentially what they're going to do is they're going to provide immigrants with an individual tax identification number, also known as ITIN. And they're also going to be able to obtain a U.S. bank account and a debit card through this fintech called Maza. And again, they are focusing on undocumented immigrants. Man, when I was reading this story and I heard this, I'm like, this is the epitome of somebody finding a problem and providing a solution, a very good solution. And Jeremiah was saying before this we hit record, like, why isn't this like televised, national televised news all over, the shade room and all that? Because this is incredible.
And what's funny is we know why, because it's not something that's negative, right? We always talk about how negativity and negative energy always gets more play or gets more push, right? More publicity. So, as I think about Maza, right, and I thinking about all the different aspects of, well, first and foremost, you have the background of the creators or the owners of the company, that's Colombian, Ecuadorian, Peruvian, right, and as well as Brazilian. And so you have a South American coalition or conglomerate of different cultures and different countries coming together. But one thing combines and bonds them is the fact that their parents were immigrants. And so it was very difficult for their parents to start businesses here, very difficult to get any type of help when it came to financial literacy and financial information. Now, what's really crazy is that not only you said that they're giving them a bank account, they provide the debit card, right? They're giving them an I-10. Also, the actual platform itself, it's allowing for peer-to-peer functionality. What does that mean? That means
Mm-hmm.
you're putting the power into the hands of the people that actually have the app. Why is that so big? Because let's say I want to sell my home, and I want to partake, or I want to actually cater to the undocumented community. And I say that I'm going to put my home up on this app. And so it allows for me to go and do my due diligence and say, hey, I'm going to select this person who's on the platform with me here, but they have the money, but they don't have the social security number. But I know that they have the bank account, and I can look at the documents, I can look at everything there in the platform. And so what it's doing is bridging the gap. And so, I start to see just so many possibilities. Chris, we were talking about the different possibilities that it could be, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, dude, any company that comes in, and even before money, before anything, they can go like on a 1-to-5 ratio of what they bring in to what they put out. And what I mean by that is they brought in about $7.5 million, right? Initially starting off, because they said that they had 50,000 users and
Mm-hmm.
each person pays $150
Which
to use
is
the platform. Super affordable.
super
All this for
affordable and
150. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say super affordable and extremely smart that they have like a
Extremely smart.
yearly. When I seen that, I was like, yeah, these people know what they're doing. Yearly subscription to gain access to this peer-to-peer information. I mean, like, bro, the subscription model is kind of where a lot of big fintech businesses are moving towards. If you
That's the
think
way
about
you should do it. I mean,
it,
let's be
hundred
honest.
percent,
Not only
hundred
does it
percent.
does it free up cash accumulation, right? So it frees up as they begin to grow and they start to grow, that's going to double, triple, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even with that 7.5 million that they gained, they've already, loaned out 41 million. They've got the backing of good people. We'll get into that in a second, right? With the type of companies and angel investors that they have, but they have the backing, and they understand that the subscription model is not only going to help them grow and scale, that's more money coming in. That makes them cash rich. That allows them to be able to even purchase additional, maybe additional apps or additional services, create partnerships with additional services. And so I can see this going super far.
100%. And like we said, they are focused on the Latino market or the Spanish speaking population, is what they said. So, yeah, man, this is incredible. You said you wanted to hit on some of the backing they've had.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, them themselves, I want people to understand that they're not a bank,
Yeah.
right? They are an actual service. It's a service that's utilizing Visa and Blue Ridge Bank. Blue Ridge Bank is a business bank as well.
Mhm.
Of course, we all know who Visa is. Great companies to be in alignment with. They have broad payment functionality, and it's actually allows for integration with all the regular payment programs or platforms that you use: PayPal, Zelle, Venmo, Cash App. So they're integrating all these things into their application, right? Because usually you couldn't use these things because they don't have a social security number. And so also something that I think is very strange. So we saw Visa, Blue Ridge, right? But also something that's really, really strange is their marketing model.
Mm.
Um, this is a fintech company. So what would you
Mhm.
think automatically, Chris? You think like, oh, they market online, they're just doing ads in Brazil. They're not.
They're
That's
not.
honestly not
I
their
try to look.
focus.
I seen, bro.
That's the craziest thing to me. Like, bro, imagine us, you and me, like podcasting and stuff, and you're like, hey, I'm finna go over here to the corner, over here in Washington Heights, and I'm just gonna stand on the corner and pass out flyers.
Mm.
Most people will be like, Chris, that doesn't make sense. But literally,
Yeah.
that's what they're doing. They're saying they're going to high density, smaller Latino communities, such as South Florida, right? Which we all know. You go Kissimmee down,
Hmm.
Central and down, it's highly Latino, right? Washington Heights, an area in New York. We just talked
Hmm.
about it, New York and Los Angeles. And so these are very heavy, high density Latin areas, right, with immigrants. And so they're going to those areas and actually just holding small seminars, right? Then so they said they do some Google advertising and stuff, but the majority of their focus is like bulletins in churches and bulletins on it. Like, it's amazing. I think that
Mm.
that's crazy,
I'm
and
gonna
it's
check.
working because they got
No.
50,000 users already. And so imagine when they add in or find the niche or the way to be able to promote this online in the proper way possible.
Mhm.
I just see it as growing exponentially. this may be a stock or something that I invest in, because this is gonna grow.
100%. So I'm curious, man. I don't want to get too off topic, but
Sure.
you mentioned in the beginning that you got in this group that individual from Brazil, Colombia, different
Hmm.
parts of South America. What do you think is the mindset for all these people to come together, put their egos aside, and to form something like this for the community? Because I think I was reading one of the individuals, he was like the GM of Uber in Puerto Rico or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah,
Like he was, you know what I'm saying, doing his thing. But
yeah.
these people all came together, put their egos aside. Like, what do you think that is? Like, how do we get more of us coming together like that? Right? Because I can think
Go ahead.
in our circle of two other people we can just pull on the same boat and
Thanks.
get something going. You feel what I'm
Um,
saying?
no, I do. I do. And I think that a lot of it has to do with people being on, we talked about it, you said it, people being on the same frequency
Yeah.
and thought frequency, right? And what that means is I'm seeking to be a servant. A lot of times people say that they do servant leadership, right? But
Mhm.
they're doing it on a grand scale. And so these people saw a problem, and this has been a problem consistently for years. What did they
Sure.
do though? They used their tech expertise in their relationships, and they said, we're unified to say that we're going to provide Central South America, right? We're going to provide the Latinos with the opportunity to actually be successful in this country. That's one of the largest things that's holding us back when it comes to us as a community, is our lack of financial literacy and
Mhm.
access to financial products,
Mhm.
right? So I like the fact that they were unified. I think that was the biggest thing that they had. And number two, the fact that they had a servant's mentality,
Mhm.
right? They were seeking to actually serve the people,
Mhm.
because most of these people, I was reading, they have a background in tech, and they could have done anything else. They were making money already. And so it wasn't like they had to come together and do this, but I think that they felt like a higher calling, right? And there was a definite purpose for doing it. So
100%. I would love to know the story of how the idea
for
came.
sure.
Like, was it somebody like, yo, Jeremiah hit me up on a weekend while I was on the beach, and he's like, I got this idea. Let's form the Avengers and help the community.
Yeah, for sure. I want to know
Oh,
myself. I think that would be a great documentary, man,
yeah.
because I think you're just on the cusp of where this is going to be. And very soon, this is going to be something that's going to go international. And I would say even American based products are going to be utilizing this platform in the very near future.
100%. Love this. Um, Transitioning a little bit, speaking about America, good old America. um, the Biden administration has put out a backup plan that can help bring student debt relief to millions of people. So President Biden is not giving up on this idea that he has, this plan that he has, right? I should say. I mean, shout out to him for not giving up. You can never downplay that. He's not giving up. Jeremiah and I were kind of talking. I think the day that the Supreme Court slashed his initial plan, he had a backup plan. He had a plan B ready to
Mhm.
go, ready in the clip, and he's not giving up on it. So some details about it, just some details. There's a lot that's going to go into it, but so all borrowers can apply if they have an undergraduate loan. The limited monthly payment is going to be decreased from 10% to 5% of your income. To require for the $0 monthly payment, you have to make less than about $32,000 a year, which is about $15 an hour. If you make anything less than that, then you are eligible for the $0 monthly payment. And then if you want your loans forgiven, you have to have what is it? Oh, 10 years of payment, which before it was 20 years of payment, and the original balance has to be less than $12,000.
12,000.
So again, before it was 20 years of payment, now it's 10 years of payment, and now the original balance has to have been less than $12,000. There are some other details in there, but here's kind of like his plan B of what they want to do. What are your thoughts about this, bro?
Well, like you said, kudos to him. There's a lot of other conversations people have about Biden that aren't so favorable, but I think
100%.
anybody generation, I'll tell you this, I think the millennials and Generation Z though probably have quite a bit of good things to say because we've
Yeah.
been weighed down by the increases in college loan, right? Loan amounts, right? And the weight that it puts us under. We're in more debt than any other generation, right? Those two groups. So I feel like we feel that about it. I know that there's been a lot of different programs, a lot of different ways to be involved
Mhm.
in paying back your loan. There's the revised
Mhm.
pay as you earn plan, right,
Mhm.
which is based upon basically what you earn, how much you earn determines how much you're paying back. I wanted to highlight something in here though, and that is that anyone that's already enrolled in Repay will be automatically enrolled in Save, which is the name of
Mhm.
the right, the
Mhm.
name of the
Mhm.
group, name of the plan. And any borrower with a good standing direct loan will be eligible. And they said the
Mhm.
application is already live. Now, I think
Mhm.
this is something very important to pay attention to. So there's a temporary 12-month on-ramp grace period. This is important. So October 1st, 2023 through September 30th, 2024,
Mhm.
while it's not officially being called a pause on the student loan debt, right? The on-ramp would mean that missed payments would not immediately harm the borrower's credit, lead to
Mhm.
wage garnishments, or risk of loan default. We talked about that, right? How the government's going to get their money. And so they're doing that. And so in practice, what does this mean? This basically means on September 1st, people got to start paying back the loans. Interest will start accruing again, right? And payments will be due in October of this year. But borrowers will have 1 year period that avoids like the very harsh delinquencies,
Mhm.
fallouts that usually come from you not paying into your loan. So we've kind of gone through this. We've kind of seen where it's at. One last
Mhm. Yeah.
one last point that's I think is amazing is the SAVE plan will raise from 150% right to 225% of the federal poverty guidelines. What does that mean? That basically means that a family of four who's earning less than $67,500 can qualify for this. And so it raises the amount that the family can make and still qualify. And so I see him kind of, you see him kind of moving in the gray areas, man. And so this was well put together.
Yeah. It was.
And he cites as you know, the Supreme Court just shut down his first deal, and he already had
Mhm.
this one in the chamber, like we said. But what he cites is the Higher Education Act, which comes from 1965, and it's already passed, and the Supreme Court has approved that. So he's building up on top of that. I think, man, whoever put this together, if Biden put this together, shouts out to him. I think he probably had some help with somebody researching and putting all this together. No, no shade. I'm just saying, I think he had
Yeah.
some help. But whoever put this together, man, it's very strategic and it's well put together. And I think it'll help out a lot of people when it comes to the student loan debt. And so I think it's a good thing. What do you think, Chris? Like, is it a good thing for us to get forgiveness on student loans, bro?
It's interesting because I actually had somebody comment on I think a YouTube video we put out or a Instagram post, and they basically said like the government shouldn't be responsible for people's decisions when it comes to schooling and whatnot.
I agree. No, I agree.
I'm
At
like,
the,
that's fair.
but at the same time, they're also not putting limitations on what these schools can charge. And they're
100%.
functioning tax-free in their country. And so they are taking money from their citizens that could otherwise or otherwise go toward taxes or anything else. Right. And so if you put no limitations on the governance of the way that these schools are actually charging people, right, for their
Mhm.
tuition, then piece of that responsibility,
Mhm.
because well, you don't have to go to college. Well, we all know that for the most of us, for career wise and things like that, you got to go to college, right? And so that's not really an option. And so although I hear that, that's not really factual
Mhm.
because they're not holding them accountable either. I think they're more focused, like we had that scam with the rich people
Mhm. Mhm.
paying blah blah blah
Mhm.
blah. They were more focused
True.
on that and federal agents. And I'm like, dude, the crime is the school itself charging all this money, but nobody's talking about that.
Yeah.
So, oh, and we don't. affirmative action isn't there anymore either. So that's a whole nother thing.
That's a whole nother conversation we'll
whole nother
probably get into
conversation.
next week, honestly. No, I mean, it's crazy. I'm at the end of the day, I hope it helps people out. I hope it goes through and it truly does help people. My perspective is the way I've always thought is I never want to put my trust into somebody else. Never want to put my trust into the government to help me or bail me out on anything. Right. So my perspective is just pay it off. Like for me, it's easy for me to say, I understand that, but I don't want to put myself in a position where I'm relying on the government for any type of assistance. You know what I'm saying? So those are my thoughts about it.
I agree. I think that I'm self-reliant and self-sufficient, and I think that other people should. But then at the same time, we have to teach them and put them in a place to where they can do so.
Yeah.
I believe the lending in a lot of cases to kids at 18 years of age,
Yeah.
who their thinking process isn't fully developed yet, is
Not developed.
predatory, right? It's very predatory, and so we could go. There's multiple factors and things to go into, right? But what I will say is that if you have gotten forgiveness and you received it, use it appropriately and make wise decisions when it comes to finances, right? That money that you were going to be paying towards your loan, if it was forgiven, put it towards something that's actually going to make a difference. Don't just waste the money frivolously. That's what I'll say.
100%. Maybe one day we'll have a conversation about college and the impact that it has like on young folks and whatnot. And what you're really paying for when you go to college is kind of like that verification, that badge, or you know what I'm saying?
That you can stick to it.
Yeah.
That's it.
True.
Just to be honest.
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother
you're paying for that brand. You know what I'm saying? Paying for that Gucci, that Louis to have on you.
100%.
To be honest, it does help. It does help. It does get you in rooms.
It does. It does. But I know a lot of people, and particularly the very brilliant people that created, the very everything that you use today, Elon Musk, Bill Gates. Now you're like, well, these guys, they dropped out. But they didn't get that stamp, right? And so it's really more about, I'd say, it's about the will. With the technology and everything that's available today, it's about your will. If you want to grind, if you want to create something new, if you want to find a niche, you want to build something out and scale, there is everything possible for you to do so. And that's without college. YouTube University.
That's a fact, bro. So I'll say this, the last thing I'll say. I'm not trying to like be braggadocious, but I graduated from Cal State San Bernardino. You know what I'm saying? Most of y'all don't even know where that's at. But I see people like Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Kobe, Eric Thomas, some of the people I look up to, Michael Jordan. I see them as humans, just like me. They got the same 24 hours as me. Oprah Winfrey, all these people got the same 24 hours. If they can do it, why can't I? Exactly. What makes them special? What separates them from me, right? So whether you have a degree or not, whether you go to USC, Harvard, Cal State San Bernardino, University of Houston, wherever, or you drop out, it doesn't matter. You can do it. You can make it happen for yourself. And with that being said, Jeremiah, anything else before we head out of here?
You can do it, and we want to help you do that as well. We want to be your tool. We want to be your source, right? We want to make sure that Latin Wealth is providing you guys with information that's useful and that is of value to you, to helping you get to that place, right? So obviously, guys, go like, subscribe to Latin Wealth. Give this, like Chris said, give this to 3 people. Send this to 3 people that could use this information. This was a very in-depth conversation. So we appreciate everyone that watches. We appreciate all the support, and let Latin Wealth help you to get to that place. That's what I'll say.
100%. Love that. And with that being said, you guys can find us on Instagram, TikTok at Latin Wealth. Again, share this with somebody. Find us on YouTube, whatever you got to do to support and to help out your community. It's your boy, Chris. Catch you guys next week. Peace.